It is not problems to solve. It is paradoxes to understand, because the more we can have nuanced conversation about tension, the more opportunity we have to actually impact what things look like now and in the future. We're trying to solve problems too quickly, and we're not actually giving people the opportunity to unpack their paradoxical thinking and tension. Like, that's hard, deep, heavy work. Oh, hi, welcome to our second episode. These episodes are all about the 6 paradoxes that are holding us back. The things that are getting in the way of us living a happy, healthy, fulfilling life, even though that's what we all want. And you might be thinking, why paradoxes, Amy? Like, where did this come from? Well, for the past few years, I've really been looking at problems, problems in the workplace, problems in people's lives, problems in my own life, because that's what we're told to fix. We're told, find the problem, fix the problem, set goals around your problems, set KPIs around things that aren't working, build a growth strategy around something in your life that you want to improve. And I get that thinking. I get that idea of growth and goal setting and, smart goals or whatever it is, and aligning them to a problem or a deficit or data that isn't where we want it to be, something that's not working in our life, a fitness goal, whatever it might be that pushes us to grow. And we are, I think, raised to find problem and focus on it. And we know from a human behavior perspective, we find problems because it's part of our survival. It's part of our way we bond, which, look, I don't always love, but think about it. When you're with someone and you're talking about a problem you have with your partner, and then another friend joins, they start talking about their partner and their problems, and all of a sudden it turns into a whinge fest. And we actually do build connection and belonging around problem, and it's not ideal, and it's certainly not what I think quality relationships and friendships, workplaces or teams look like. They're the things that suck us down. But we're just hardwired to find these problems. And so the flip of that is we're told to set goals around problems and focus on how we can improve what we might perceive a problem to be. And so I've done this for the past few years in workspaces, lots of schools I've worked with. And I have taken the approach of, it's all well and good to say we're stressed or overwhelmed, but more specifically, we've got to look at the cause of that. Now, I am absolutely still an advocate for that work. I don't think we should be stopping at surface level. I don't think it's appropriate when we're trying to improve the well-being of individuals or workplaces that we just look at symptom. Oh, you're really tired, have a day off. It's been a really hard week, we're going to put a coffee van on. Oh, it's a really intense work period for our staff, we're going to get a yoga teacher in 2 mornings a week. That is a really symptom solution strategy, and it's not effective. It's not sustainable. It doesn't look at conditions. It doesn't look at cause. And it's one of the reasons why workplace wellbeing has a bad rap. And if you go in and talk to people and you're like, what does it look like here? People roll their eyes, because let's be real, they're totally over it. Now, why are they over it? 1, those things aren't working. 2, they're not seeing results quick enough. 3, it can sometimes be the culture of the place itself. And 4, we're so focused on symptom, we miss the piece around cause. But what I've noticed, you're probably wondering, where is she going with this? What I've noticed is when we focus on problem, we're also jumping to tangible, like the solid concrete thing, because we want to have something to hold on to that's visible. Great. But there is a whole piece underneath, because we're dealing with people, that's missed. And it's the thinking element. And one of the reasons I think change is so hard and complex for people right now, one of the reasons I think that in the space of trying to get people to be well and happy and healthy and feel successful at the same time, is because there are these paradoxes creating tension. Now, problem, focuses on things that go wrong. Paradox is about tension. It's about the push and pull. It's about holding 2 opposing truths, 2 opposing ideas that both can be true at once. And sometimes it's so hard to get to that because we're stuck in the problem. And I think there are probably 6 at the moment, 6 paradoxes that we as people are really struggling to hold nuance around. And that's creating massive tension personally and professionally for ourselves as people, our relationships, in our families, in the person we're trying to be, in the growth we want to have, as well as in our workplaces and our teams, in the culture we want to create in workplaces, in the future of work, in the redesign and rethinking space of what work can look like. And so before we jump into addressing symptoms or causes, or focusing on the problem, or setting KPIs around data that we want to increase, I actually think we need to be brave enough to talk about the paradoxes. We need to be brave enough to sit in tension, Because if we want to change, not just on a surface level, like not just to increase data, not just to increase results, not just to increase numbers, but to actually change the people, and then that is what creates sustainable change, we have to be more willing and give more time to unpacking the tension and paradoxes. So I'm going to share with you 6 paradoxes that I think are the ones holding us back. Sometimes empowering, sometimes disempowering, sometimes easy to talk about, sometimes no idea what we mean. Flooded in terms of ideas and information and sometimes research and social media, but also very conflicting because we haven't yet been able to sit in the tension of the paradox. So I'm going to share these 6 with you. They are the 6 that I unpack in my book, The Wellness Paradox, in a lot more detail. What I want to say about that too is if you're thinking this is another wellness hack, podcast, or book, and I'm going to give you a checklist of things that you can go and do to change your life, please know I am not that person. There are no 10 quick fixes under anything that actually work for everyone. And this is, again, one of the tension pieces, right? All right, so let me talk you through them as they are, as I unpack them, and you can make your own decisions, right? You can decide, where does the tension sit for you? Where does the paradox sit for you? What's true for you? What's not true for you? I'm just here to help bring some ideas to the space. And then hopefully that opens up a conversation personally, professionally, in your team, in your relationships with yourself, whatever. Okay, so the first is the paradox of success. Now, I did talk about this briefly in the first episode, but the paradox of success is the more we chase success, the less well we are. And this is so interesting because we've been told that if we chase a version of success, the more happy and successful we will become, the more well we'll be. But actually, that's not true because the more successful we are, the more we have to work to hold it. The more successful we are, the less time we have to spend with family. The more successful we are, the less time we have to spend in the life we can finance. I'm talking about the traditional Western version of success. Now, they may or may not be true for you. One of them might be, the others may not. But ultimately, the version of success I unpacked in episode 1, the more we chase it, the less we feel like we're there because there's always something else to do. Because remember, we inherited it. We didn't design it. The goalposts keep moving. We're never actually going to achieve it because there's no end point to that. The second one is the paradox of wellness. Now, this too creates this tension of I'm doing all the right things, but nothing seems to work because the more we actually design a wellness strategy, the more we have to add to it. It never becomes enough. We get our sleep right, then all of a sudden we've got to start exercising more. We get our exercise right, and then we're trying to layer that on with I've got to make sure that I get infrared light saunas in, and then I get that right, and now I've got to start drinking matcha. And so why does this keep evolving? Because the wellness industry is booming like crazy, and again, it is thriving on our not enoughness. You are enough. You don't need the matcha and the red light therapy to actually make you enough, trust me. And so the idea of being well and the paradox of it is the more wellness we do, the less well we feel because we get caught in this trap of comparison and chasing. The next one is the paradox of emotions. Big thing at the moment. Emotional health, emotional regulation, emotional vulnerability. I'm a fan of all of those things. They really, really matter, but here's the paradox we're sitting in. The more we encourage people to express emotions, the less we know how to handle them. Let's think about that. We say we want people to be open. We say we want people to share. We say we want people to be vulnerable, especially in workplaces. But when they do that, we don't actually know how to hold space for that. We don't know what to do with that information. We don't know how to be responsible with that, whether we're sharing or whether we're receiving. And so we encourage people to be emotionally vulnerable. But what's the next bit? How do we sit in the tension of that? The paradox of emotions is big. We encourage our children to share their emotions, but we don't quite know what to do with it. And so then, even though we think we're encouraging emotional expression, is that promoting emotional suppression? These are the conversations and the tensions in paradox we've got to have. The next one is the paradox of energy. The more we do to build energy, the less we feel we have. Again, it connects to the wellness space. We're doing all of the right things. We're sleeping. We're surrounding ourselves with the right people. We're eating the right foods. We're making sure we get sunlight. We're making sure we have a day of rest. but it still feels like we never have enough energy. And that's because this is very much connected with our identity around success and wellness together. And so in order to have energy, we've also got to be willing to discuss the tensions and the paradoxes of each of those alongside it. The next one is the paradox of resilience. The more resilient we are, the more we're asked to hold. The better we are at coping, the more we're asked to cope with. The better we are at, dare I say, bouncing back, and I don't like that term and I unpack it in the book in detail, but the better we are at that, the more we're asked to bounce back from. Or to do it quicker, right? And it's this weird thing where in some ways we've confused resilience with how well we cope, like how well we just push on, how well we suck it up, how well we keep going. That's not resilience at all. And so we've confused this idea of what resilience actually is. But the better we are at being resilient, the more we're asked to cope with. We have to take on more family expectations and commitments. We have to pick up things that other people can't. We have to do more in the workplace. We have to hold higher expectations. We have to pick up the slack of colleagues because we can cope better. No, that's just not acceptable. No. And the last one is the paradox of belonging, which is the more we want to belong in a world right now that looks like this, the more we tend to feel lonely because we are craving connection. And where do we jump to get it? Social media. And that's not real connection at all. In fact, one of the other paradoxes is that sit under this is that the more we strive for belonging, the less we feel like we fit in because we're trying to fit into these curated fake versions of what life looks like. And they're asking us to sacrifice who we are. We're also at a time where we've confused what belonging means alongside success and independence. We're told that part of being successful is being independent and living on your own and taking yourself away from family structures and family units, when in actual fact, we're designed to belong and be around family and community and to live like that. Yet our pursuit for success, which is the interwoven piece into all of these paradoxes, has actually pulled us further away from all of the things that it means to be well. The further and the more we go down the path of leaning into that inherited version of success, the harder these paradoxes become to break away from. I'll tell you what I mean. The more we chase success, the more we feel like we have to keep our emotions intact, because a successful person wouldn't be emotionally vulnerable, would they? They just have it together. The more we chase our inherited version of success, the more work we should throw at us, because a successful person does more work. They arrive first, they leave last, they work all weekends, they check their emails while they're in the supermarket line, right? The more we chase this version of success, the more we're going to push ourselves so that we end up sleeping in our car like I did because we have no energy and we're crashing on our couch, because a successful person values their energy by how much it doesn't exist, because that's what success is. Of course you're tired. Of course you're working on weekends. Of course you don't have any energy. That means you're doing a good job. I mean, how gross is that, right? How awful is that? A successful person doesn't rely on other people. A successful person doesn't need to belong because they're so wildly independent, because that's what we promoted, that they don't need belonging. And yet look at everyone. We're in the middle of a loneliness epidemic. People are more lonely than ever. My gosh. And a successful person, they don't actually have time to prioritize what it means to be well. That yoga, that meditation, eating healthy, that's like just woo-woo stuff. It doesn't really make a difference, because success is based on work and how much you can squeeze into your day. Like, we have actually designed a version of success that has pushed us away from all aspects that should support us to be well, healthy, happy, fulfilled humans. This is a paradox. This is a huge tension piece. And whilst we want to talk about all of these different things in isolation, energy, emotions, resilience, belonging, wellness, and success, we want to talk about them in their different compartments. It's not actually how it works. They're all interconnected. And this is why I'm really big on, it's not work or life. It's definitely not work-life balance. It's work and life. We are one. We are one in this space, and we've tried to create silos and then solve the problems in silos. These aren't problems to solve, they're paradoxes to understand. I need you to come with me on this. It is not problems to solve. It is paradoxes to understand first. That's the most powerful thing that we have to step into right now, because the more we can have nuanced conversation about tension, not just in these 6 areas alone, there are so many other things happening in the world, but the better we get at that, the more opportunity we have to actually impact what things look like now and in the future. Because if we do this right, if we get it, if we start to grapple with these things, this isn't just about working in the tension we're sitting in. It's about rethinking and redesigning what it's going to look like in the future. And that future is coming very thick, hard, heavy, and fast. And so we have to be available to sit in the tensions of the 6 paradoxes. Otherwise, it's not going to get better for us. It's going to become harder. And we're already seeing this shift and this pull and divide in different areas of life. And I think it's because we're trying to solve problems too quickly, and we're not actually giving people the opportunity to unpack their paradoxical thinking and tension. Like, that's hard, deep, heavy work. Yeah. So here's what I'm going to leave you with: the 6 paradoxes. Paradox of wellness, the paradox of success, the paradox of energy, the paradox of emotions, the paradox of resilience, and the paradox of belonging. 6. I'm not sure how good a job I was doing at counting, but 6 of them. Now, within these 6, one will have stood out for you. Maybe you want to grab a copy of the book and read it. Maybe you just want to ponder it. Flick me a question if you have one. I think these are conversations really worth having right now as we all try and grapple and figure out, gosh, how do we be well, happy, and successful in a life that tells us it has to look a certain way? It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. Because what are we doing here? We're just rethinking what success looks like, so all of these things can come together to support how we work and live, and we don't feel like we have to keep putting things in silos. All right, lovely people, I'm going to leave you with those thoughts. As always, I'd love to know what you think, so please reach out and have a wonderful day, night, evening, whatever time of day it is, and I'll see you somewhere soon. Bye.